am extremely bullish on a number of different crypto-related AI projects. But the big question of today's video is, who's going to take number one spot? Will it be FET, or otherwise now known as ASI? Or is it going to be Bittensor? These are the two big dogs in this sector right now who are making moves. So today we're going to break down both of these projects and look at who has the best potential to take the top spot. We're going to get started with the fundamentals, beginning with FET AI. So heading over to the FET website, we can see immediately that FET is very focused around AI agents. You're able to develop, deploy and orchestrate multi-agent systems in an open AI agent marketplace. Now, for those who are not aware, we can see in this article here that the AI agents market is predicted to be worth around 47 billion by 2030, and this is just one niche area when looking at the wider potential of AI in general. So pretty exciting times for those who are very much into their technology. So scrolling down, we can see a bit more about FET's specific products. First of all, you've got the ability to use U-agents, which is all around developing multi-agent AI systems in just a matter of minutes. You can also then make them discoverable on Agentverse, which is a universal platform, so people can actually use the products that you are building and designing. And also on the back of that, you can orchestrate AI agents using FET AI's AI engine. But that is not all when it comes to the fundamental value of FET AI. Now, due to the recent ASI merger, we will now see that FET, the token FET, will also benefit from the fundamental value brought to the project by the likes of SingularityNet and Ocean due to this merger. So a quick look on the SingularityNet website will just give us an overview of the products that they offer. So we can see when it comes to the AI platform, they have their own AI marketplace. They also have an AI publisher. And then when it comes to the token side of things, we can see that they have their own staking and then their own bridge as well. Then if we head over to the Ocean website, we've got a quick look at some of the services and products that they offer. They have the Predictor, where you'll be able to run AI powered prediction bots on crypto prices and so on. You've got Ocean nodes, which did actually just launch over the summer. I think it was around the middle of August. And then you have data challenges as well. So you would argue that FET on its own was a pretty decent project in itself. But now with the merger, things are looking even more. Flipping to the other side, we will now take a look at what Bittensor are building and what they are all about fundamentally. So we have this page on their website, which is Bittensor Explained. It's a very simple couple of paragraphs. So it starts off by just basically explaining that Bittensor is creating a new future for humanity where new economies and new commodities are decentralized by design and where no single entity is a sole authority. So very similar to Bitcoin and the whole idea of crypto really, it's about decentralization. At the core of the Bittensor ecosystem is the production, marketing and selling of digital commodities. Now everything is decentralized. The digital commodities like compute, data, storage, predictions and models are transformed into intelligence. And this is where again it can get quite technical and quite complicated, but I'll explain shortly exactly why you shouldn't get too worked up about this if you don't understand the ins and outs. So scrolling down, you can see here that the decentralized currency fuels the production of the intelligence in subnets. Now, when it comes to subnets, this is where their product really starts to take shape. And if we have a look at this tweet here from another AI project called AIT, we can see here that they announced that they registered on Bittensor's subnet number 35, which is for their product of Einstein. So this is about allowing other projects, other entrepreneurs to actually utilize Bittensor's economy and ecosystem. So we can see here, entrepreneurs with skills and ideas will use Bittensor when they are deprived of investments from traditional sources of capital, and most important, any such entrepreneur can participate profitably and thrive in the ecosystem. So there's a couple of examples just below. As always, I'll leave links in the description so you can dive deeper into this stuff, but it is interesting to see that this is an ecosystem in itself funding and leading the way for people in the AI space to really thrive. As I mentioned, it can be quite confusing to understand the ins and outs of these very technical projects, especially in the AI sector. So the reason I say that you shouldn't worry too much about it is because, let's face it, we know ChatGPT, for example, we know that you ask it to do something and it does it. It's a very simple, everyday consumer-based product, but these are a little bit different. These work more behind the scenes, they work more for niche audiences, very tech-related, developer-related products and people. So the way I see this is very much like a car. Everybody drives a car, everybody uses it to get from A to B. But if I asked you how does the engine work, explain the ins and outs of the engine, I'm pretty sure that many people out there wouldn't be able to do so, but we don't worry about it. We use the products, we see what we need to see, we use it for what we need it for, and that is pretty much it. And I see it a very similar way here with these AI products. You can dive deeper if you want to, but if it's too technical and you're not really interested, don't worry about it. Now we'll move on to a topic that I'm sure many more people will be comfortable with, and this is the tokenomics. So a quick overview of FET first, and then moving into TAO. So moving on to CoinGecko, we can see that ASI or FET is currently sat at a market cap of just over 4.2 billion, 4.275 billion. The FDV is relatively close to this at 4.46 billion, meaning that we can safely assume that the circulating supply and total supply are very close, which they are. You've got 2.5 billion just over and 2.6 billion in total. And this is quite typical of a coin that has been around for a while, because we know that FET was founded in 2019, and the tokenomics have changed slightly recently due to the ASI merger. The total supply did increase with these projects coming together, and I have done a couple of different videos covering this. I'll leave links in the description so you can check them out if you wish to. However, TAO is only 18 months old, so the tokenomics do look a little bit different here. We can see that the market cap is very, very similar to FET. They are very close at this point at the time of recording, with a market cap of 4.25 billion. And this is because of the recent surge in price. We can see over the last week that FET has just gone absolutely crazy. Let me just move to the 7-day. It has just been in an up-only trend. But besides from that, we can see the big difference here, the FDV. Just over 12 billion. So this looks very different to the FET FDV. And because it is a newer coin, this is to be expected because it hasn't had the time for those tokens to come into circulation. We can see here just over 7 million tokens in circulation, and then the total supply being 21 million. So roughly around 35-36%. So it is very different, and because of that we do then need to look at the token unlock schedule, and a lot of this is down to the TAO mining process for rewards. Now I'm not going to pay for token unlocks just to have a look at this in more detail, but we can very easily paint the picture of the circulating supply around the end of 2025, when many people would expect this bull market to come to an end. So if we skip the date here and just go straight towards the 1st of January of 2026, we can see here that the amount of tokens in circulation is going to be much closer to maybe around 11 million. So based on what we've just seen with the total supply and the circ supply, it's roughly going to be around 52-53% rather than the current 35-36%. And this does have to be taken into account when setting realistic price targets and price predictions in the future. Now, on the back of that, I do want to mention that later this week, I will be doing a Bittensor price prediction video in a very similar format to what I've done on the channel a number of times before on a number of different projects. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe, put the notifications on, and that'll be dropping very soon. There are definitely some pros and cons to both sides here when it comes to the tokenomics. One could argue that there are less surprises in store for us when looking at the fetch circulating supply being so close to the max supply. You know, that is a very bullish thing for a lot of people because there are not going to be more tokens becoming available whilst the demand is continuing to increase. But then on the flip side, one could say, well, Bittensor has performed very well over the last week. It is the new shiny coin. And although the tokenomics are not awful, it's actually getting a lot of attention because it is a new shiny project. So maybe that outweighs the tokenomics situation. There's definitely different ways of looking at this. Another topic that I wanted to cover was around community. We know that community can be extremely powerful for these projects. Now, I would argue that the community isn't as important here as it would be for a meme coin, for example, just because that it has genuine real world utility and fundamental value. Both of these projects do. So the community at this level isn't so important, but it definitely is there anyway. Now, I could go and look into the amount of Twitter followers, Telegram community members, Discords and so on, but I don't think it's relevant just because these projects are both already very well established. They are blue chip projects, and I don't think these specific numbers are going to make a great difference. Now, one thing I will say is that when I share tweets around either of these projects, they always perform very well and the community do seem to pick up on them. And also on the back of that, the Fetch AI price prediction video that I did quite a few months back now is the most watched video on this channel. So if that means anything to you, take it for what you will. But I do believe that community here isn't greatly important, although they both are in a very good place. At this point, you may be wondering, are there any other competitors who could potentially take the #1 spot in the AI sector? And the answer to this is yes, but we're going to break this down and talk about why they haven't been mentioned in this video. So again, going back to CoinGecko, we can see at the top of the list you have Near Protocol within the AI category, which you can see here. You then have ICP, you then have TAO, and then you have FET. I think at this moment, due to a recent pump, in the time of recording this, TAO has now gone to #3. But besides the point, after these 4 projects, the market cap does then drop fairly significantly to around 2.4 billion, which is render. So at this point, you've got the top 4 here. Now, I would argue at the top here, you've got Near, and I would really put Near more in the category of an L1. Of course, it does have AI elements to it, but I don't really see it as a out and out true AI project. They have great links to NVIDIA. It's definitely a very solid project, but I don't see it as an out and out AI project. Next up, you have ICP, which could be argued to be definitely in the mix here, and it is not ruled out by any means, but I just don't see the same appeal. I don't see the same hype. I just don't see the same situation here with ICP as I do with TAO and FET. Now, one thing that could potentially reflect this is just 24-hour volume. You can see here, FET 370 million. You can see Bittensor at just over $250 million. And though ICP is up there in market cap, the volume isn't quite as attractive, and I do believe that is just due to general interest and significance around the project. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe we look at this video in 12 months' time and it's a very different picture, but I do at this point right now believe that it is going to be TAO and FET battling out for #1. So now the big question is, what do I think? Who is going to be #1? Is it going to be FET or is it going to be TAO? Now, full disclaimer here, I am a FET holder, so people may think that I am completely biased, but I do actually believe that these are both 2 very solid projects. If I would have got a better entry more recently on TAO, then I'm pretty sure I would have had a bag of that as well, but I didn't. I've missed that ship. I'm not going to chase it at this point. Yeah, I've traded it a few times, but I never added it to my long-term holdings, and I do believe that I don't really need to have 2 big blue chip AI projects in there. Regardless of who is #1 and who is #2, I do think they're both going to perform extremely well. So, as you probably guessed at this point, I do believe FET could take the #1 spot. I personally believe that the FET tokenomics situation is looking a lot better. Like I said, TAO's isn't terrible, but I do like the fact that there's going to be no big surprises in the FET supply over the next year or so. Now, the big question mark for me around FET was around, is it losing relevance? It's an older project now, like we said, TAO is new and shiny, but I do believe this could be why FET have actually made the merger happen. Have they rebranded with this merger as ASI just to freshen things up and to attract new interest and really be the talking point again? They've timed it perfectly in the middle of the early stages of a bull market, and I do think this might have been a very, very tactical decision, not just for the fundamentals, but maybe from a hype and marketing perspective as well. So that's kind of why I'm leaning towards FET, but like I said, I think both are going to perform incredibly well. So that pretty much wraps up this video. Please do drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and also don't forget to comment. Let me know who you think is going to take #1 spot, even if it's not FET or TAO. What are you thinking? I also want you to let me know in the comments if you want to see more comparison videos like this. This is probably the first one of its kind on this channel, and I could do it for a number of different projects, whether it be other AI projects, maybe L1s. So let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to check them out. But in the meantime, please don't forget to trade safe, invest safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.